So one of the things I've really wanted to get back into is backpacking. I did a lot of backpacking camping trips, canoeing camping trips, all over the western United States when I was a young lad growing up, and now that my boy is growing up, I'd really like to get back out into nature and do some more hiking. However, I'd also really like to bring at least one of my drones with me to get some of the really cool aerial shots, as long as I'm not hiking in a national park or no drone zone or a wilderness or whatnot. The only thing holding me back is how do I charge my drones once I am out in the wilderness. So today we're going to be looking at a couple different ways of charging your drone when you don't have an outlet to really plug it into. Now, if you're just camping out of the back of a truck or a Jeep or something along those lines, and you just want your drone to go on hikes with you and everything, there's a good chance that your truck, Jeep, car, whatever, will have enough power at least to charge some small batteries for, say, the Mini 3 or Mini 4. If you can't supply that much power, then inverters are pretty easy to get and plug in. Just make sure that you don't drain your battery. What I really want to focus on in this video is at least 3 different ways of charging a battery when you are out in the bush. Basically, get out of here, fly. Basically, when you are throwing your drone, your camera equipment in a backpack, and you are going to be hiking. You're going to be staying under the stars. You're going to be cooking your fire over a food. You're going to be cooking your fire over a food. When you're going to be cooking your food over a fire, stuff like that. Speaking of fire, that's actually going to be one of the techniques that we're going to try today. The 3 that I have in mind is a solar power charger. Essentially, you're going to set the solar panel out and let it collect sunlight and charge the batteries from there. Another way I'm going to try it is the BioLite camp stove, which doubles as a power generator, as well as a way to cook your food without having to carry any sort of fuels in with you. I've played around with the BioLite charger a little bit already. We'll go over it. You'll see. And then the final way I want to try is a hand crank generator, such as you see on like an emergency radio or something. Probably something you're going to have with you in your kit anyways. I just want to see how well it works for charging a drone battery. So for today's test, everything we're going to be using is going to be based off of the Mini 4 Pro. The Mini 4 takes the same batteries as the Mini 3, albeit with a reduced flight time, but they're very interchangeable. I personally am a huge fan of the Mini series because they take phenomenal photos, videos, time lapses. They have active track mode so they can follow you. They're a fantastic drone if you're trying to get into drone photography or videography anyways. And I think they will be perfect style to just throw in a camping backpack and go off. Unfortunately, for today, every single one of my batteries is charged because I wanted them all ready to go for an event, and then I charged them on the way back, and so now everything's at 100%, which is not exactly ideal when you're trying to do a video on how well things charge. So first things first, I'm going to be depleting all 4 of these drone batteries down to 25%. I'm going to set it up over here in my backyard, just put it in the air, let it hover, and wait till it's at 25% and land it as fast as possible and take it off. So that way every one of these batteries will be starting from the exact same level, 25%. We're gonna have one battery be the control subject to see how fast it charges from 25% all the way up to fully charged on a wall outlet. And then we're gonna test the other 3 options to see how fast we can get it to 100% or before we just give up. So, time to start draining batteries. Now, I could just leave the drone on and let the battery run out that way, but I'm trying to get as much filming as I can done today, so this just seems like the easiest way to drain the battery is actually give it a workout. This is going to be just thrilling content, I can tell, so I'm going to go ahead and put on the time lapse. It only took me a while, and I only forgot a couple times, but everything's been brought down to 25% or lower, so I'm gonna get the other ones that were a little bit lower set to 25%, but in the meantime, going to do the solar test. So we are using a Goal Zero Nomad 10 solar panel. We're gonna plug it in right over here. It's about 4:30 right here. We should still have plenty of sun left for today, so gonna test it out, and if not, I'll repeat the test tomorrow, but gonna set it up here in the sun and set a stopwatch and see if we can get to 100%. Right, what was that? Hey, stay over there, off the camera, okay? So you want me to explain to you what I'm doing? Hey, don't shake the camera. All right, so we're setting up this right here so it can get all of the sun, and it's gonna charge one of Dad's drone batteries. Does that sound fun?
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna sit here, set it up. The sun's gonna be coming in this way, and we'll also have a little bit of shade right here, so that way we will keep the batteries cool. Hey, stay over there, stay over there. We don't wanna be showing you off to the internet. Goonie girl. Technical difficulties. So, gonna plug this in, keep this in the shade so it should keep the battery nice and cool. And we have one solid green bars, and it is charging. So we will set a stopwatch. And I'll come back and check on it a while and see how much of at all it's charged this. My hopes aren't high, but we'll see.
1 hour later.
All right, it has been 56 minutes. And we are at our second bar. It's not boding quite well for being sustainably charging. We'll let it sit for a little while longer and see. I have a feeling I will probably be restarting this test tomorrow morning and letting it run all day and see exactly just how long it's going to take. All right, we're coming up on 2.5 hours, and we almost have a fully charged battery. I was legitimately not expecting that. I figured it was going to take 5 hours at least to charge one battery. Now it's just an interesting race to see, are we going to end up getting this battery charged before the sun goes down? We'll keep monitoring it. I'll check it in another 10-15 minutes. About time for dinner now, so hopefully I remember. All right, we're coming up right on 3 hours. And we're still charging a little bit. Well, we are starting to lose our sunlight. We're gonna go ahead and call it right at 3 hours and see how much it charged. And tomorrow, we'll see if we can repeat this with a longer period of time. So after 3 hours, give or take, of charging, we are at 83% battery. So that's a lot better than I expected. We will repeat this test tomorrow and give it a full charging day and see how well we do. But again, that's way better than I expected. Viable, even.
The next day.
All right, so I restarted the test with a lot more daylight left, and it's been running right around 3 hours or so now. Put the stopwatch on. So yeah, we've been going, letting it charge out here for 3 hours, 1 minute and 30 something. 3 hours, 1 minute and 30 something seconds. So let's see how much it's charged. And we are on 4 bars of charging. I'll check here about a half hour or so, let it run until about 3 hours and 30 minutes, and see if we've got a full charge then. I'm a lot more impressed with that than I expected to be. 3.5 hours might not seem like a very quick charging time, which it's not, but if you can potentially hook up a solar panel on the back of your backpack and be hiking on the trails and letting the solar panel be charging your battery bank as you're hiking, which is probably the majority of what you're going to be doing all day, that's perfect. That's what I want to use it for. I want it to charge while I'm going, set it down while we eat lunch and let it charge. So far, that's what I'm taking with me right now. We'll see what the other tests come up with though. All right, got to run into town, so gonna check it now. 3 hours, 28 minutes, and would you look at that? We are at full charge. So that's really good to know. I can get a battery charged from 25% all the way up to completely full in about 3.5 hours. It's not as fast as a wall charger, but hey, when this is where I want to charge it at, gotta have something. So good. 3.5 hours, give or take, for one battery. One other thing I did forget to mention was that this Goal Zero solar charger also came with a pretty nice battery pack that I'm interested to see how well one of these fully charged would work for charging up drone batteries. So my plan is to charge this battery completely to full, gonna charge the battery bank completely to full, and then going to hook it up to a full set of batteries for the DJI. So 3 batteries all in the same one, all in the same, 3 batteries all in the quick charge kit, all depleted to 25%. And we're gonna see how many of those batteries we can charge up and what is left on the battery bank. So I have the Goal Zero Venture 75 battery pack that I've got completely full charged, hooked up to a fast charging cable, and I have all 3 of these DJI batteries that have all been depleted to 25%. So we're gonna plug it in to this fully charged battery pack and see how many it charges before being completely depleted and see how long it takes. I had to keep my voice down to not wake up the kids, but after 2 hours, we had 2 full batteries and one at 75%.
The next day.
So this is the BioLite. It is a portable camp stove that folds up, that runs off fuel you can find out on all of your hikes and whatnot. It uses the heat to charge this kind of battery bank right here, which shows it's about half full right there. And then it also uses that power to run a fan that causes the fuel to burn quite hotter. You can pull power from this to charge stuff. I will fully admit I've tried it a couple times and have found the charging capabilities kind of lackluster, but we're gonna give it the old college try. The other problem with this is you have to constantly be feeding fuel into it, and it can sometimes be a real chore to get the fuel started. This is a great piece of technology that I don't think is quite there yet. I think this needs a little more refinement, a little better battery power output to really get to what they're trying to design to do. Maybe they've become better since I've purchased this one, but I haven't seen it. So regardless, this is a great way to cook stuff if you don't want to carry fuel with you through the wilderness. Let's see how well it charges drone batteries. So you can hear the fan turn on right there. That's going to be feeding oxygen and basically blowing on the fire for you. You do that by double tapping the button down here, and then you can speed up the fan, which will make it burn hotter, but then it pulls more battery. But you have to at least have the fan going to try and get it started. Several different things you can see here on the BioLite. We have our battery light right here, which lets us know how much battery it is. Our fan to show us how hard we're blowing, and then the heat. So this basically is gonna, how hot everything is burning. So we're gonna try and get this flame all the way up to the top, and basically that's when we're gonna be generating the most power, and then we'll throw on the drone battery and see how well it charges. This thing is really finicky. You constantly need to feed it fuel, and then it likes to go out too, and then you deal with a lot of smoke. So again, I don't know if I'm just doing something wrong. I've lit a lot of fires in my time. That sounded odd. But this one definitely sure likes to smoke a lot. Well, there went the hair on my hands. All right, so we've got our battery level pretty well stabilized, got the heat pretty well stabilized, and the fan is set to the lowest setting, so it's drawn the least amount of electricity. I say we go ahead and hook up the drone battery and see how long it takes to charge on the old BioLite. All right, so There's a standard USB plug-in right here. It's plugged in. Make sure it's charging. All right, it is charging. Slowly, but hey, see how long it takes. So here's one of the really cool things about this whole BioLite stove, is it comes with a couple different cooking attachments, mainly this little grill, which just pops on. Just like so. It'll settle in, and then got this little grill cover that goes right on top. And you can cook right on top of that. So you have this lid that you can close so you'll put out more heat onto the grill area, or you can flip it right open so you can add fuel. So I figured while I'm out here doing this test, I might as well make me some lunch while I'm at it. So this is one of my favorite foods to take with me on any sort of hiking, camping, outdoors trip. It is venison pepper sticks from a deer that I got hunting about 2 or so years ago now. And all of the trimmings take them and turn them into these little jerky sticks. And the guy here in Orland that does them, there's nothing like these. These are just phenomenal hiking, camping, road trip food. But I found they are best when they're heated up. When you either cook them in a microwave for a little bit, or ideally outdoors on a stove like this, they go from an A tier to an S tier immediately. One of my other favorite foods probably in the world that I love making myself is kimchi. Got the recipe from Binging with Babish, and I have several jars of this on me at all times. And kimchi is usually eaten just, raw and cold, but grilling up the kimchi adds another different flavor to it that just is kind of the same as these pepper sticks. Delicious. You can see when it starts getting all nice and blistery like that, that's when it's just perfect. Bon appetit. Very simple, very spicy meal. Oh, so good. The only thing I usually have with this meal is either a cheese stick or ideally a nice buttery slice of sourdough toast. It's like the only thing that would really complete this meal. And a cup of ice cold water.
That's my cheese.
There's my cheese.
My
My cheese. All right, I'll have this, you have the rest, okay?
cheese.
I think I'm actually going to leave the stove on top of this because it gives me a little more room to fit fuel in to make sure I don't have to sit here and monitor it as much. We're still not very full charged.
A few moments later.
So I ended up taking off the stove portion because for whatever reason it seemed like it was keeping the battery on here from charging that well. And we're down to 1 bar on the battery and a little low heat. I'm trying to let the embers burn down too, but the main thing was this stopped charging. It was just blinking one light and then it would stop and there'd be no lights. And kind of like it's acting like that right now. And yep, now the low battery alarm has come on. So we're gonna try this for a little bit longer. And yeah, don't think this is gonna be able to keep up with the demand for the battery. I was trying to let the embers burn down a bit more before I added any more fuel. So I'm gonna get it all stopped up, try and get it roaring fire again, and see if that makes any difference, because if it's not going to charge like that, even while I'm keeping it nice and warm, then I don't think this is going to really work for this project at all. All right, I have been trying to charge this battery for well over an hour now, and it has not gotten above 2 bars, and it keeps blinking off. So I'm going to go ahead and give up. Call this experiment done, because obviously it is not holding up enough power to even keep itself going. That fan should stay on constantly. So I'm gonna go in, pop this into the drone, and see how much battery we got in an hour's time frame. 37%. So we charged it in an hour, 12%. I am going to go ahead and write BioLite off as a... Can't say I would want to take that with me and have that be the main way of charging my drone batteries out in the out on a hike or anything. So hopefully the technology improves.
The next day.
All right, so for this test, I have the American Red Cross ClipRay Eton. It is a flashlight slash battery charger, battery bank that is hand cranked. And they only really information I could find on it is they say 1 minute of cranking supplies 10 minutes of power. Speaking of which, it comes with a flashlight. So 1 minute of cranking equals 10 minutes of flashlight power. I couldn't find any information on it, and I'm going to assume that you're probably not going to be able to build up an infinite amount of charge in this. For instance, I can't crank it for an hour. Since I can't find any information on what a full charge for this would be, I think I'm going to crank it for... I think I'm going to crank the charge. I think I'm going to crank the power crank. I think I'm gonna crank my hog. I think I'm gonna put 3 minutes of charge on this. I am going to set it down and make sure it runs completely out of battery, and then once that's done, I will add 3 minutes of charge time to it and see how much it raises a battery. And then once it's done, I will try out the other battery where I will crank it. I will be charging this while I have it plugged into batteries to see if there's any difference. Unless I can find a way to work this that doesn't involve me getting carpal tunnel, it's going to be the best bet. Let's see how well it will charge a drone battery. These two drone batteries will be at 20%, by the way. All right, after 3 minutes of hand charging this, my wrist was already starting to hurt, and it was starting to warm up a bit inside. So I'm going to go ahead and call that good. Let's see how much it charges it. Well, I think we might be calling this test done early because it's not even turning on. Let's see if it'll charge my phone. No. All right, well, so this does not appear to work for this purpose. Let's see if it'll charge us at all when I crank it. Okay, so it will pull up when I'm... Oh god, so I have to hand crank it the entire time it is charging to do anything. Alright, well. Well, at least we know it does work, but it doesn't look like it's going to be used as that great of a battery pack. Only as a hand crank. So I'll set the timer and I will ruin my wrist for another 3 minutes and we will see how this goes. I mean, logically I knew I was going to have to do this test anyways. I was just hoping for a brief break in between charging cycles. So 3 minutes, see how much it charges it. That was 3 minutes of almost continuous crank charging. And yeah, my wrists were already starting to hurt pretty bad by the end of it. So we're gonna pop it in and see what 3 minutes of charging adds to the battery. I don't think it's going to be much. Good Lord. All right, so we started the battery off at 20% and we're down to 18% after waiting for everything to turn back on. I am gonna go ahead and say hand crank charges are not the play here. All right, so this is going to be our control test, which is going to be a Samsung super fast charger with a lightning cable on it that it's the best charger I probably have in the house. To prove it is a lightning charger, plug it in, and you see it is showing super fast charging on my phone, which needs to be charged anyways. So, super fast charger, we're gonna throw it on the DJI battery and see how long it takes under best conditions to charge from 25% all the way up to full charge. You can see right here, we got one battery in, 25% power. I checked it on the drone right before I plugged it in. Gonna see how long it takes. As expected, the lightning charger performed admirably, charging the battery to full in a short 1 hour and 15 minutes. So, that was 3 different ways of charging, or at least attempting to charge your drone batteries out on a backpacking trip. If I had to rank them from worst to best, I would probably put the hand crank charger on the bottom, considering it seemed to rob more battery than it charged. And then I'd put the BioLite above that. Technology is really cool, but just not quite there yet. It required constant fuel adding and only added on about 13 or so percent to it. It required constant feeding of fuel into it and did not charge the batteries really all that well. I would recommend, if you're wanting to take your drone with you or any other electronic device that you can charge up out into the bush on a backpacking trip, I would recommend getting a solar charger and a battery pack to go with it. Not sponsored by any of the products that I use today. I'm sure there's even better products out there than the ones I did use, but I would recommend getting a solar panel charger and throwing it over the back of your backpack so it'll charge while you're hiking, and let it charge up an auxiliary battery pack. Or if you have the DJI Fly More kit, just plug it into that and let it charge 3 of your batteries as you go. But yeah, solar chargers seems to be the way to go. If there's any other charging methods you guys would like me to try, leave them in the comments. I'm happy to check them out. But until then, don't forget to like and subscribe if you like this sort of content, and I will see you next time.